Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small act at a time.
On this week's episode of the Kindness Project, we talk about Cluedo, travel destinations, and we have part 2 of our interview with George Kinder from the Kinder Institute.
Welcome one and all to the Kindness Project. I'm joined by two blokes who are sitting in the dining room with no knives.
No knives?
I was thinking about Cluedo, my brain went off.
Okay, no
But there
knives.
might be a few lead pipes around here.
Raz, have you got a lead pipe?
I haven't.
Sophie's got a lead pipe. I didn't even realise Sophie... Were you hiding in the toilet? Waiting for the podcast to start?
The bathroom is a Cluedo location.
Inside the toilet.
The bathroom is a Cluedo location.
That is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favourite Cluedo location? Unofficial question of the podcast.
I don't play Cluedo.
Right.
I don't play Cluedo.
You've never played Cluedo?
No.
Oh, Ross, I'm so disappointed. I'm so
I
sorry.
But you've never had a game of Cluedo?
I haven't. The only board game I can remember playing is Monopoly.
Okay, you've had a game of Monopoly. Have you had a game of Frustration?
Ladders.
No.
You have? You work with me?
What's Frustration? Is Frustration the one where you put the tweezers in the...
That's Operation.
I played that.
Claire, that's Operation, not Frustration. Maybe frustrating when you're playing it. I enjoy...
Frustration is the one where you get to hit the big button in the middle.
Oh, no. I've never played that one.
It's the one where you can knock other people off the board.
No, I've never played that.
No, but you've played Operation, where you get with the tweezers.
Oh, we've got to play some board games.
We have for us. Have you played Cards Against Humanity, Russ?
Yeah.
Yes.
You played that?
I've played that one.
No, you're not allowed to play that one. Have you played Snap?
Snap, yeah. 21s.
21s?
Yeah.
Sevens?
7s?
No, never 7.
14s?
No.
189s?
No, you're just picking numbers
I'm
out
just
of the
picking
air.
numbers. Have you played poker, Russ?
I've never played poker.
Never
No one
played
else wants
poker.
to play poker.
Okay, interesting. What I'm thinking of another ball game that Rose might not have played. Ticket to Ride. Have you ever played Ticket to
What
Ride?
was that game we played in the pub with Daddy that time? We played something in that pub at Stratford, didn't we?
Oh, you know what? Where
Exploding
Raz
Kittens?
is. You know where Raz? Oh, Exploding Kittens. I think we had a game
Yep.
of. You know what bar he's talking about, Sophie? Because we like that little bar, don't we?
Lake Street.
The gaming bar.
Tunnel.
Yeah, the gaming bar in Stratford is a amazing place. I am joined by 2 girls on Mother's Day, but no mum on the podcast. Are we going to say hello, mum? We're not going to say hello. We're not going to say anything. 2 girls on Mother's Day and one man who doesn't play that many ball games. It's Russell, Sophie, and Charlotte Dames. How are we doing, ladies and gents?
Amazing.
Amazing.
I want to get Russ in a game of Cluedo.
Yes!
Right. Okay. So you two, as you two have actually
Dad.
played. Go on.
One day, can we do a live podcast where we just play board games?
Yes. That sounds amazing. What board games are we going to play on this live
Cluedo.
podcast?
We're going to find every board game in there and going to play them all.
Fab. It sounds like a lot of the YouTube videos Charlotte watches, to be honest.
No, I watch a lot of D&D actual plays, but it's not the
Yeah, Dimension 20.
Right. So let's talk about Cluedo. Who's your favourite character? What's your favourite room? And what is your favourite weapon of murder?
Plum.
I can't believe I'm saying that to a 10-year-old. It doesn't sound appropriate.
Now, that's the candlestick, obviously.
See, suddenly he's an expert.
I've heard people talking about that.
Plum,
I am aware of the candlestick.
plum, library and a lead pipe.
So who are you
It
killing?
was plum in the library with a lead pipe.
Who are you killing with a plum? How about you?
I like Mr. Green, the kitchen, because of that little shortcut. Love the little shortcut.
Yeah, I like shortcut.
And the rope.
The
No,
rope.
wait. Can I change my person?
You can change your person.
Mustard, Colonel Mustard.
I'm going Colonel Mustard with the plum in the library.
Plum isn't
Just-
actually a weapon.
No, you can't. I'm sure you can kill somebody with a plum.
You could kill someone with a person as
You
well.
could
Just
choke
like
them.
pick them up and...
I wonder if you could kill somebody with mustard.
Sounds a
Just-
lot like Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah, you could show. You could give them two.
We've
You
got
know
Mr.
how,
Green
Dad.
on the left, Mr.
Dad.
Mustard on the right.
Dad, you know how you can drown.
Sorry, we are not talking about
know-
murder
no,
on the
I-
podcast.
you know
apart
how
from
you
Cluedo.
can- I know. You know how you can drown by drinking too much water.
Yes.
Just feed them too much mayonnaise, and then they'll drown.
Death by mayonnaise isn't something I think.
I mean
No, no.
mustard.
I'm not going to go into intricate mayonnaise murder.
Intricate mayonnaise murderers. This is what this podcast
Yes,
is
you are.
descended
Yes,
to.
you are.
Intricate mayonnaise murder is the weirdest thing I've ever heard in my life.
You put them on
Let's.
like a tightrope and then you stick mayonnaise down the back of their shirt, and then while they're wiggling because the mayonnaise feels weird, they'll just.
Sorry, what? This is like that.
We're moving
that-
into
that-
25.
This is like that South Korean show. What's the South Korean
Oh,
show like?
Takeshi's Castle.
No, I was thinking about the red light, green light one. What's the one?
Squid Game.
Squid Game. I mean, that is a Squid Game waiting to happen. Mayonnaise down the back on a tightrope.
They wiggle.
Anyway,
Just
and then they just wiggle and fall off. How to look at Squid Game? Right, let's get back on track, ladies and gents, and let's do this week's question of the podcast, which is: what travel destination is at the very top of your bucket list? So let's start with Soph. Where do you want to go the most?
I
Soph?
forgot what it was called, but when the waves come in, the end of the waves and the sea foam, I think it's like some sort of algae. It just glows.
Yes, I've
sure it
seen that.
glows.
I think that's in Thailand or
Yeah,
Philippines or
it's
something like
in
that.
the-
It looks amazing. It's only at night, isn't it?
Yeah, because you can't.
What
see.
colour is it?
Blue.
Blue. Oh
Like
yes,
electric blue.
blue. So I'm putting that place near the top of our bucket list. We'll go there one day. Russ.
Well,
No.
what's-
Does he want to go to the world's greatest city?
well,
Do you remember that? When he said the world's greatest city was Norwich.
let's have it right.
Go on.
Norwich is one of the greatest cities in the world.
On what world? This world.
In an alternate universe where all the great cities are.
Will the destroy in the multiverse where all the greatest cities disappear and the only city left is Norwich.
Norwich.
Right. So right. Let's explore this a bit further, Russ. Tell us why Norwich is so good.
Just like it as a city, it's got a castle.
It's got a castle.
It's got medieval.
Is it Takeshi's castle?
It's Takeshi's castle.
It's going down in my
It's a
opinion.
medieval castle, though, and a museum there.
What's in the museum?
All medieval stuff.
Right, now we had this with Sophie the other day. Sophie was telling me about the military museum because we've got an airfield near us that used to be used in World War II. Let's go through this experience with Russell for a minute and let's see whether he can tell us why Norwich Museum is the best museum in the world. Go on, Russ.
I've never been in there.
Right, and would you like to tell our listeners about this World War II museum you went to?
There is a working air raid siren,
Amazing, that sounds
and then
good.
upstairs they got an old chair.
Right, you're not selling it now, Soph. You're going downhill.
Next to the old chair
They've got the table.
is an old sofa,
Right.
and then next.
I've got an old chair and old sofa in this house. I don't know what. Oh, that's the doorbell.
Doorbell.
There's somebody at the door. There's somebody at the door. Right, but then you described some of the good stuff they've got.
No, they must have mannequins.
Mannequins. There's mannequins. You're selling it again. Go on. And what else?
And then there's peg dolls, and they have pegs, and then
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like the back of somebody's shed. Just like where they've chucked all their stuff.
you
Do you know
got
what I mean?
you got draw a little face on it, and there's a doll, and then they've got an unexploded bomb. In.
See, if I was describing this thing, I'd start with the unexploded bomb.
Yeah, so would I.
And then they've got
No, I'd start where Sophie decided the middle should be with the old sofa and the old chair, and then build up.
No. See, I think when you're describing something, you've got to pique somebody's interest. Maybe Sophie's done it in the right order because she started with the second best thing first, then went mundane, and then went up to like the big
And then they've
finish.
got a plane engine.
See, that's quite impressive.
And
isn't it?
and they've got planes.
Swapper Museum.
Oh, go on.
The Tutankhamun exhibit.
Have they? Any
fabulous.
actual parts of?
Yeah, parts of Tutankhamun, because the guy
Parts of his dead body.
Yeah.
that went in to Carter, I think his name was.
Yeah.
Howard Carter.
Yeah.
Come from Swapper.
Now that is a fact I didn't
What,
know.
the King's Cradle? The King's Cradle?
I don't know.
Who's
I don't know.
Cradle?
Cat's Cradle. But I didn't know that, and that is quite impressive for a little niche museum.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. I might be visiting. You sold Swaffham Museum far better than you sold.
For $5 to go round.
Sorry, are you on commission or something? Why are you selling? Why are you selling Swaffham Museum all of a sudden?
Oh, you said a fiver and I was turned up.
Only a £5. Charlotte, you gonna go?
You can get into loads of London museums for free.
What'd you say to that?
And you don't have to go 2.5 hours down the road to do it.
Fair enough. He's backpedaling now on Swaffham Museum. He was a big fan all of a sudden. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we'd like to know is, sorry, did we get to? So we got Sophie's favourite travel destination. What apart from Norwich, Russ? Where would you love to go?
Home.
Well, that's only a travel destination, is it? I suppose you've got to travel there because you're staying with us for a little while. Apart from Norwich and home, let's get a bit more adventurous now.
I'd love to visit the Amazon.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I've seen the trips where you can go and stay in a tent thing and look at all the bugs.
Yeah, amazing.
That's my sort of thing.
There's a thing you can do where you can kayak down the Amazon River, and that to me looks brilliant. I mean, I'm hoping this year, probably going to do it this year, I'm going to kayak down the Thames.
They do the same one that they do on the Amazon in the Glades, where you can,
with the Everglades.
Yeah, where you can.
Is that Canada?
No, that's in Florida.
Okay.
Where
Oh, yeah,
you
of course
can,
it is. Of course it is.
Where you can kayak down and see all the caimans and all them.
Amazing. That sounds really good.
Sounds fabulous.
And you can do that. You can do that in the locks in Scotland, and there's loads of places you can do it. So what I'm going to do is start with the Thames, and then work out, and then see where we go. Charlotte, what's your top of your travel destination list?
Europe.
Well, we are going for the majority of July.
Yes, it's on the top of my bucket list.
Because we're going. Apart from the 15 countries we're going to in Europe in July, what else is on your bucket list?
We could go back to Japan, that'd be nice.
Japan would be good. Japan, you want to go to Japan now, do you? Okay, fair enough. So, listeners, we'd love to know, we would absolutely adore to know what's on the very top of your travel destination bucket list. We've had a weird couple of years where all of our travel plans have been sidelined. We do seem to, at least in the UK where we record this from, seems to be getting a little bit of normality back in our lives in terms of travel. Hope you are too. But let us know what's on top of your travel destination bucket list, and you can get in touch with us in the following ways.
So
Russ.
Oh, damn.
Charlotte.
Okay.
Russ.
Russ, you know it?
So on Twitter, we're at Holokindness. On Facebook, we're at Holokindness.
Wait, I thought it was on the Kindness Project podcast.
On YouTube, we're on the Kindness Project podcast. On Google, you can just search the Kindness Project or Kindness Project podcast, which are on top of both lists.
Friends Reunited.
No Friendship Reunited.
Okay.
We do have an Instagram.
Instagram.
We do have an Instagram. That's at Kindness, but
Yeah. That dog barking is because Casey's Mother's Day present has arrived, and we've never had a live unboxing of a Mother's Day present on the podcast, have we? Should we do that, Casey? Should we do a live unboxing of the Mother's Day present on the podcast? No, you're gonna keep it to yourself. That's fine. All right. Well, let us know. Yeah, get.
I don't want to.
Why would it be disappointing? I think you're going to enjoy it. Particularly the message, the real personal message that Charlotte picked for the inside, and Sophie. So On
You
that
were put
note,
on the spot, Mum.
on
I'm
that
so
note,
sorry.
on that note, well, let's move on to the next part of the show, which is,
Kindness news.
and the first article we're going to share on Kindness News this week is restaurant closed for Day of Kindness after staff abused by rude customers. Indignity after indignity allegedly played the beleaguered staff of the farm-to-table restaurant for weeks. Finally, a customer's fiery rant over a breakfast takeout order last Thursday became the final straw. The owners of At Cape Cod in Brewster, Massachusetts, decided to abruptly shutter their homey roadside establishment for the next several hours so staff could enjoy a day of kindness. An astronomical influx of customers had been screaming at employees, dangling legal threats and driving members to tears, the owners wrote on Facebook. ACT joins a slew of restaurants across the country that have reported more frequent mistreatment in recent weeks. I wonder why that is. Oh,
It explains it.
as customers clamour to resume their pre-pandemic lives, some have lashed out at an industry suffering from a shortage of workers, more costly ingredients and supply chain glitches, none of which are the people who are serving you's fault though. Scrambling to stay afloat, overworked staff members often find themselves on the other side of customers' irritations. Abusive treatment at co-owner Brandy Felt Castellano told the New York Times has become its own epidemic since Massachusetts restaurants fully opened in late May 2021. A lot of customers now, as we are all, are so eager to get back to the way that life was before the pandemic. We're just supremely disappointed that things aren't the way they used to be. Every day, Mr. Cardozo says he hears from servers berated by customers about service delays due to restaurant skeleton crews. Staff members said they feel beaten down and disrespected as the food industry reevaluates its long-term mantra that the customer is always right. There's a lot in here, but the interesting thing for me is I think you can tell a lot from somebody by the way they treat people in restaurants. I hate the fact when, I really, really, I don't want to judge people because everybody's got their own issues, but the challenge you've got is if you can't respect the people who serve you, I think that's an issue for me. It tells me something about your personality. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Especially when you're shouting at them for things that are so plainly not their fault, and it's like,
Yeah.
why would you even bother?
Yeah.
Like disrespecting a human being for something that they couldn't control.
You know what? That's different to giving feedback, right? You can give feedback and you can let, every business really should thrive on understanding what their clients actually feel about the business, because then they can improve it. But that can be done in a really straightforward but nice way, I think. So yeah, there's no excuse for poor behaviour, really. Fed up, the Castellanos who run at the restaurant recently posted a sign outside their restaurant making their expectations clear. If you cannot be kind, you cannot dine. The new mantra joins AP's tone-setting motto of come as strangers and leave as friends, posted on the establishment's website. As a small business owner, I refuse to let my staff be treated less than human and will continue to stand up for everyone in the service industry. Regina Castellano, who is also the restaurant chef, sent a statement to the Washington Post. ACT then decided to pause service and support their employees, and it was greeted with an outpouring of support from community members who asked to donate to employees, sent encouraging notes and praised the owners for protecting their staff. One guest bought the employees gift cards for ice cream, Castellano said, and somebody dropped off a bouquet of lavender hydrangeas. It's a sad state of affairs when people are so emboldened to be rude and hurtful, one person wrote to the app staff on Facebook. I hope you are blessed with many kind customers in the days, months and years to come. So, I think give people an opportunity to be kind and they will. But I think, I think the weird thing is, and the interesting thing, kindness can kindness can also be not accepting unkindness.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got a duty and obligation to protect your employees, you also need to say, well, actually, we don't accept poor behaviour.
Yeah,
What do you think?
I agree with that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Good stuff. What we're going to do is move straight on to the interview for this episode. Now, George Kinder, I know you really enjoyed that interview,
I
didn't
did.
you, Russ?
I did. I
Tell me
found
why.
it very insightful. So I've done the 3 questions he laid out.
Which George is going to be talking about in this.
Which you'll tell us about in the first part.
And how did you find the experience?
I found it quite interesting.
Good.
So-
And useful, quite insightful?
Well, it got me thinking about things that I don't usually think about.
Yeah,
So,
which is great. And I'm glad you enjoyed it. Let's listen to George. Why do you think we do that as a society? Is it just because we assume we've got to be in a box?
Well, I think society is complex in a lot of ways, and that's certainly one. And you know, we've got all the models of psychology that we know of that come down to us. I think there's a lot of different things. I think that freedom comes in. My next book after these books of poetry and photography, I've already got a first draft recorded.
Amazing.
And it is a book on what I call the 3 domains of freedom.
Okay.
And those domains are: each moment is yours. And that's mindfulness. Your life is yours. That's life planning. And civilization is yours. And that's something we're really troubled by right now, obviously, wondering how that's happening. But in each of those areas, we hold ourselves back. So most of us don't even realize that there's a practice to master moments so that every moment is ours and we're not troubling ourselves and falling into reactive patterns. Most of us don't know that we can live our life plan as we want to. And that's the reason that life planning exists. And most of us fall into a very codependent relationship with civilization. You know, why are our leaders leading us this way? Why are corporations doing this? Why is the government doing this? But it's all ours.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think it's complex, but I think it's time for us to take all those things on.
And how is it that you're managing to find the time to write all of these books? Because I don't know about you, but when I start writing a book, I often go off the trail and start writing a completely different one, and I never manage to finish one before I start another. So how is it you're managing to keep on track and keep writing these books?
Well, I'm passionate, I'm dedicated, and I've cut out. I mean, you know, you were talking about cutting. What do we need to do? I've cut out a lot of habits that would normally distract me. So I rarely watch television. I need to surf the web some to be able to understand what's going on in the world.
And do the research and
Research is the best bit.
But I narrow that. I don't get obsessive about it. I narrow it, and so that's narrowed. And the first 6 hours of my day I dedicate to what I think is most important. And that's my writing and nature and living mindfully. So I'm out there in nature. I've got this world behind me, the world in front of me. I live in nature, and I live, and I immediately go from it to writing. So writing is my passion. It's my dedication. It's my meditation.
But that's a really good habit. Do what you love first in the day.
First,
whilst you've got the energy and move forward from there. I suppose it's an interesting one because this is a struggle that we're both going through at the minute, isn't it? Because we've got 4.5 years worth of really amazing people we've interviewed on the Kindness Project. I'm currently writing the Kindness Project book.
Great.
And I've got about 40,000 words. The bit that I'm struggling with is the editing process. So I've just employed an editor to help me with that. So
Good.
so hopefully that'll move forward. But
I
yeah,
didn't know you'd employed an editor.
yeah, I've got
Why
me.
am I not
I've got a meeting next week about that. So yeah. Sorry, I'll let you know. I don't. I'm already in trouble because I don't give you enough notice for interviews, don't I? Okay, great stuff. So that we're here actually. We'll move on to the subject of the interview now. We're here to talk about the golden civilization. Now, what I wanted to start is with a really super broad question. What does a golden civilization mean to you?
Well, I want to say, and I want to back up to the prior question just for a moment. When you were asking, how can you do it? How can you actually write so many things? Get life planned. If it's in your passion to write those books, you'll be much more on fire to do it and much clearer about the boundaries. So getting a life plan has been enormous for me, and following my life plan, constantly reminding myself of it is very important. Back to the golden civilization. I want to say that what is important more, and I will answer for myself, but more than for me, is what is a golden civilization for you? And what is a golden civilization for everyone we meet? And one of the things I did before COVID hit was I was on a world tour, and I went all over the world. And I went to Mumbai. I went to very poor areas. I went across Europe. I spent a lot of time in England, all across America, asking people this question: what is golden civilization to you? Gathering groups together and putting up on a wall what their image of a golden civilization was. And what was amazing to me was whether I was in blue country or red country, and I realized that's different in your country from our country. Those colors mean different things. But whichever country I was in, whichever part of the country I was in, they came up with the same thing.
Interesting.
What they saw in a golden civilization was more kindness, more vitality, more compassion, more fairness, less false news and propaganda, more honoring science, more laughter. Everybody saw the same thing, less bigotry, less inequality. So all of these things were more democracy. Everywhere I went in the world, everybody wanted more democracy.
Yeah.
These are the things that golden civilization stands for, and for all of us. And my argument has been, it's time to do it. With the planet getting smaller and smaller, I mean, here we feel, crunched by war. We were crunched before this by the oppositional nature of our politics, or by the planet concerns. The planet's getting smaller and smaller, and we're getting closer and closer. Look at us. We're talking from all the way across, the Atlantic Ocean. We do this all the time now. It's so small. It's time to solve the world's problems and come together and make a great civilization. And we can do it. We gather together as a people.
So I'm 100% with you on that.
Yeah.
The bit that's interesting for me is, as you say, regardless of political persuasion or beliefs or principles, actually the underlying elements of what we're all looking for in our lives are pretty similar, right?
Very similar.
All pretty similar. How do we start then to remove some of those barriers that have gotten in the way?
Yes, there's a lot of different things. There are things we can do individually. If I look culturally, I mean, the most interesting thing right now is looking at what the Russian people think is happening in Ukraine, what the Ukrainian people know is happening in Ukraine, what China thinks is happening in Russia and Ukraine, and what we think in the developed liberal democracy world. And it's really what we think comes from the news we get. So if we have a media that in fact is really a free press and is really investigating and is not driven by oligarchy or autocracy or whatever, we will discover what it is that we want to have happen. In America, and I'm sure this is the same in the UK, your press has gotten polarized like this, and our press has gotten polarized like this. So it no longer is looking, nope, the press no longer looks and tries to create something that's actually truthful. They more give one slant and one point of view. So that's one thing we need from a cultural standpoint. But I would say from each of us, I mean, we obviously, we can't solve the world's problems without democracy, which is one of the good news elements, if there can be any, yikes, in this Ukrainian thing, is that it's clarifying that we don't want autocracy. We want democracy, and the people of the world really want democracy. So standing for that, but what can we do? There's different things. Is that what you're asking? What can we do? Because
before we come on to that, I suppose there's a couple of elements that are really interesting for me. I was talking to my wife, Gazzy, about it actually a bit earlier on. Ukraine's got a really interesting background in terms of fighting for democracy, and there's a really interesting Netflix documentary called Winter on Fire about Ukraine, when one of their previously elected presidents, who said that he wanted more democracy, looked towards Russia. And effectively, the students in Ukraine, followed by a lot of people who joined the protest, were in Kiev in 2012, 2013, protesting for him to go, and somebody who would support their sort of journey to democracy to come in. Like a lot of sort of totalitarian sort of strongman leaders, his approach was, we'll get the right police in there and crack down. And interestingly, the people of Ukraine grew in terms of the protests, so that the main square, there was hundreds of thousands of people at one time. I'd recommend that certainly our listeners watch Winter on Fire, because it's really interesting in what people will do actually to protest totalitarian and those sort of regimes. I think it's really interesting. But I suppose the other point I was going to make was one that you mentioned about the news, because I suppose part of the challenge we've got is some of the news we get now is online, isn't it? And that's sort of governed by our own particular perspective. Part of the reason we do the podcast is so that we can put some positive news out there. And we'll come on to what people individually can do to sort of manifest a golden civilization in a minute. But what do we do to make sure that we're getting fair, balanced, nuanced information without getting overburdened with and developing a pessimistic view of the world?
I think that we in America, we had something called the fairness doctrine in the 80s, where we insisted that news media be balanced. So even though they might lean left or they might lean right, they really needed to give the whole picture more. And our politics was much more stable and much more conversation going on. So I think that we do need to have some regulation in regard to that. But I think the other thing is, in America, and I'm sure this is true in the UK as well, there are three people who have as much net worth as half of the American population, 170,000 people. Three people. So we have gotten way out of kilter. And when you have that much wealth in just a few hands, it's very easy to manipulate the news in a variety of different ways. So we need to bring inequality down dramatically, and we need to more to regulate that there is science, that there's investigative reporting, that what is great journalism, and we know what it is. They teach it in schools. We know what it is and how to deliver it. So we need to implement more some regulatory schemes there as well, Chris.
Yeah.
And then we need to model that to the world is the other thing, because China and Russia have just gotten more and more powerful with their autocracy. Much as you might talk about the power of the people in the Ukrainian video, at the same time, Russia and China have gotten more and more powerful. So we need to recognize that it's important for us to stand up for democratic values and to speak out for them, all of us.
I think you make a really fair point as well, because I think a lot of the conversations that happen, even though they might provide both sides of the coin, are about conflict as opposed to a starting point that should be, in my opinion, why are we so similar? You know, as you say, regardless of political persuasion, there's plenty of people who believe the same things and want the same things. Why are we not looking at that first and going, there might be some nuanced differences we need to focus on?
I think unfortunately, the reason the news is so skewed towards the violence is because we are more likely to pick up and buy negative news stories, and that sort of influences what the newspapers are going to put on the front covers and what they're going to talk about and what they're going to publish. And so unfortunately we're stuck in this sort of cycle where they're only putting the negative foot forward, and it leads to things like I'm going to say the word correctly first time, catastrophization. So I've been struggling with that
rather you than me, to be honest.
I've been struggling with that word since I was 15 years old. I've got it right. So basically the more negative news we read, the more likely we are to assume a negative outcome is going to be the end outcome. But unfortunately, it is what sells and what we are subconsciously
But
drawn
it's
to.
not that. I mean, it's interesting. It's not the reality, is it? Because most of us, millions of us on the planet, live in perfect harmony, trying to make the best of our lives.
Right.
But we don't see that. So talk to me a little bit about how we can get closer to that golden civilization, George. What can we do?
So individually, I think there are a number of things we can do. One of them speaks directly to what you're talking about, and you can find this on my website. But one of the things I did when I was traveling the world talking about a golden civilization was I came up with a format of having conversations about how to change the world. And we started with, what's your vision of a golden civilization? And we got this incredible vision. And then we go, okay, so what are the barriers to that? Then we look at the barriers, but first we get inspired by the vision. And how we look at the barriers is we go, what could possibly get in the way? If we all believe in a world of kindness and generosity, what could possibly get in the way? And they list the things. And then we go, okay, well, let's get to work. What can we do? What can we do to change this? And we built these communities of people who were constantly coming back and looking at, what can we do to make the change? Because we know that everybody wants this golden civilization. So the thing to do is to build that movement. It sounds like you're intrigued with doing that in your own way. And I think that's a very valuable thing. So one of the things is to promote golden civilization conversations and then action coming out of it, because just the conversation isn't enough. We need to be active. Otherwise, we get into, but they're so powerful, but they do this, which is just codependency is all it is. There's no reason in a democratic society. Second thing is, you mentioned you believe that people should come first in finance. And there's this, obviously, the ESG movement that I know you're very, very well aware of. I've been promoting a fiduciary statement that is, that I think we ought to put into law, that all organizations are required, in order to get their corporate status or their nonprofit, non-governmental status, whatever it is, are required to put people first, democracy first, and the planet first. Required to, ahead of their own self-interest, so that we know that we can trust them when we begin to work with them. So that's a second thing. But I think the three other things are more personal. One is live your life plan. Go get life planned, get inspired, and live the life that you feel is the life you want to deliver into the world. Another thing is to, and maybe it's just one more thing, and that is the practice of mindfulness is a very powerful practice to begin to master our ability to be here in a spirit of generosity and kindness. So I think those would be the things that there might be one more, but that's what I'm thinking of right now.
So let's talk.
Yeah. So, what part does mindfulness play in your life? Would you say? So, how does it affect you in your life daily?
So it sounds like just sounds like it's been a daily practice for you for some time, hasn't it?
Yeah. Over 50
How
years.
long have you been practicing mindfulness?
Over 50 years. Yeah, I'm 74 years old right now, and I'm turning 74 in a month, and I've been practicing mindfulness.
Let's call it 73 and change.
All right.
let's not add the year if we don't need to.
But I've been practicing mindfulness for 50 years.
And talk to us a bit. Talk to us a bit about sort of the practice. Is it a morning thing? What is it? How does it manifest itself practically?
I've practiced several hours a day. Actually, I'm one of these fierce. Some people are joggers and running the marathon and all that. My marathon is what I want to do more than anything is to be the master of the present moment. I want a mastery of the present moment. And consider this question for a moment. And my answer to your question about what is it for your life, it's everything in my life. It means everything. It's huge. But consider this question. Have you ever experienced a moment of freedom in the past? And you're right, you say, yeah, of course. I've, whether it's walking the beach or celebrating with my family. Have you ever experienced a moment of freedom in the past? And it's a trick question I ask a large audience, and I get everybody to raise their hand and say yes. And then I tell them that the truth is that they answered it all wrong, every one of them, because we've never experienced a moment of freedom in the past. We've only experienced it in the present moment.
So that was part 2 of the George Kinder interview. Raz, have we got a part 3, or are we? We've got part 3. So more on George next week. I hope you enjoy. And that brings us to the. Oh, Charlotte's getting excited because it is her bit. Go for it, Charlotte.
Tis the end of another podcast. But the end is never truly the end because the end is always the beginning of something entirely new.
Which is last week's question of the podcast.
This week?
No. You meant to sing it.
Oh.
Try again. Last week's question of the podcast.
This week.
That was so amazing. I spilled my coffee all over me. That was so amazing. That was so brilliant. Can somebody get me a teacher? The thing is, I wasn't expecting it to be that good. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh God, that was so funny. That would have been funny. That would have been funny. Even if I wouldn't have spilled my coffee, but the fact that you're singing made me spill my coffee all over me. It's brilliant. I'm so sorry, listeners. This is like I don't know whether this makes a good podcast listening or not, but I hope you appreciate Russell singing.
I was about to mime him. You don't have to sing, right? You don't have to sing.
He was up for it. He was giving it so this week. All right, let's go on. I don't think I can do this anymore.
I got it. Okay, so last week's question of the podcast was, if you could only pick one thing you were most grateful for, what would it be? That's the wrong thing. Oh, here we go. Al McCann said knowledge. Sharon Hirsch said my children. Steve Dan said family. Mike Christie has sent a picture.
A lovely picture of his amazing daughter. Thanks for sending that in, Mike. Eve Keane said my daughter. I can't talk. Stacey Keane said family.
Don't know how to pronounce that.
Dave Forsdyke.
Safety.
Roberta White said, my daughters and grandchildren. Aww.
Glendy May said health.
Martha Halloran said health.
Sue O'Halloran said family.
Kevin Hull said good health.
Gillian Bird. said-
Gillian.
Gillian Bird.
Why you what? Sorry, say Jill again. Gillian.
Gillian
It's
Bird.
Gillian.
Gillian.
Said breathing important.
Toby Action said my
Action. Acton.
Tom K9 said
Why are you making? Well, these are our listeners. You're insulting. Tam Canine said my amazing Kinlywinks.
Hello kids said my good fortune to be born in a Western democracy. Philippa Hand said health.
And Russell Hutchinson said life. Life, oh life.
Hola.
And on that note, ladies and gents, thank you for joining us for another episode of
Dad,
the Kindness Project.
It's like you in
And we'll
archery.
see you
better
next
to
time.
worse.
I know. Right, have a good day, guys. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.